What's up, you bundles of sticks? Today we're going to be talking about how to Rizz the Huzz in the real world, not in the DMs, not on Tinder, not on Instagram, not on 4chan, but in real life. Now, this subject is very broad. I can't cover all the bases in a 10-minute video, but I can give you a couple of foundations that you can use to start applying based on real-world experience and become a more attractive man in the real world so you can find you a baddie, get married, and have kids before Western civilization collapses, and you have someone you can enjoy your time with living in a hut post-nuclear holocaust. And as always, obligatory channel plug, like, comment, share, and subscribe, or you're gay. Now, why should you listen to me? Well, it's because I have a lot of experience in this subject. Oddly enough, for a middle-aged, balding fat guy in his 40s making YouTube videos, I have a lot of experience when it comes to talking to women. I was active in the pickup artist community of the early 2000s. I've approached hundreds of women easily. I've gotten a lot of phone numbers. I've gone on a lot of dates from approaching women, even a couple of relationships. And yes, that was almost 20 years ago, and things are different now, but biology doesn't change in 20 years. So here's one of the biggest things to understand about Rizzing the Huzz. Rizz isn't about the things you say, okay? It's not about saying the right thing. This video is not about, okay, say these things and you're going to get that girl to like you. It doesn't work like that. That's not how women think. That's not what makes them attracted to us. It's less about the things you say, and it's more about how you say it, because if you have enough Rizz, you could say almost anything. I mean, you look at the early pickup artist days. I mean, guys would walk up to some girl and say, I want to pee in your butt, and somehow that would actually work. I know it sounds stupid, but I've seen stuff like that all the time. So Rizz is really about your emotional state, all the nonverbal communication that you do when you're talking to somebody that they're picking up on. Women really are extremely intuitive and at that sort of thing. It's about your personality, how you come across, whether you come across as too nervous or too creepy or what have you. Women kind of intuit that. Granted, it's not perfect. Yeah, they generally are more intuitive, but they're not psychic. They can't read your mind. And sometimes they get it wrong. I mean, obviously, if they didn't, there wouldn't be so many single mothers. Being nervous is okay. If you're talking to girls and trying to flirt with them, try to get her number, it's okay to be nervous. So it's less about saying the right thing and more just taking action, because doing something is always better than doing nothing. Putting yourself out there and failing, you'll learn way more from than just doing nothing. One of the most important ideas I want to get across is the whole just be yourself thing. Because I think this is one of those pieces of advice that is good, but no one ever really explains what it actually means, because it's always like in the context of, you watch a movie where it's like some nerdy high schooler and he's watching the football player get all the girls and he's like, hey man, how do I get all the girls like you? And then the football player's like, just be yourself, bro. And then then like the nerd goes up to like the hot cheerleader and he just tries to like be cool and be himself, and then she spills his chocolate milk on him. Back when people weren't gay and had lactose intolerance and stuff, all these with lactose intolerance. That's kind of the idea of people have, just be yourself. What it actually means is not just be cool. What it means is don't try to be something you're not in order to impress her. So when people say just be yourself, it means be comfortable in your own skin, be willing to show your flaws and your quirks to someone you just met, knowing that they may or may not like it. For example, say you're talking to some girl and she says she loves to dance. And let's say you don't. Let's say you're a bad dancer. What just be yourself means is to be able to say, hey, I'm a bad dancer. That's who I am. I own it. I'm cool if you don't think that's cool because you like to dance, but this is who I am. That's probably one of the most important things I can give to people who want to be Rizzlers, is you have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to be comfortable with your own flaws and putting yourself out there and being willing to be rejected, really. The reason you do that is because this is assuming you're trying to find a wife and not just go out there and do hard-on things with a bunch of girls.
Haram!
Is that when you work up the courage to approach some baddie and you start talking to her, you also want to find out about her. You want her to qualify herself to you, because you need to know if she has the qualities you're looking for, that you like personality-wise, before investing any more effort into her. So it's got to be a two-way street. It's not just about, oh, this girl's so hot, I got to impress her. It's like, yeah, she's hot, but she's also a person. She may be good or bad for you. And you got to find that out. So you got to have a little bit of discernment there and not just be so invested in trying to impress some girl you don't even know. Another thing when it comes to Rizz the Huzz is women always say that sense of humor is generally the most attractive quality a man can have, is being funny. Women love funny men. That is 100,000% true. Women love humor in men. I don't think as guys we really understand how much they do. A lot of it too is because women are always anxious basically all the time, especially in the modern world. They're all anxious even when they pretend to be girl bosses and empowered. They're really not. So because of that constant anxiety and worrying about everything, women tend to be more neurotic than men. Because of that, humor for them is a way to escape from all that. It's a little bit of a pressure release from all that anxiety. And that's something that men don't really understand, especially when you're a big, scary guy in her mind and you're talking to her. And if you can make her laugh, that puts her at ease and makes her more relaxed and makes her like you more. And it's basically a cheat code. There are 2 cheat codes when it comes to attracting women. Humor is one, being a good dancer is the other. If you're a good dancer, like a good salsa dancer, a ballroom dancer, and you're confident in that, you don't even need this video, quite honestly. You're fine. But humor is so important because, it puts women at ease. It signals your intelligence in a way that's not show-offy. Because a lot of you YNs have this idea that attraction is about having status. You got to be tall and rich and dress this and that and the other thing. And that's all true, but it's not because those things in and of themselves are attractive. It's because those things signal to her lizard brain attraction. Which is why also a lot of the times you get a lot of these dudes who are rich and successful, then they become simps. And their women don't respect them. They're complete simps because of that. It's because of the mindset. Yeah, you can have those things on paper and it's possible, but if you don't have the right attitude towards them, she's not going to respect you. Because if you just think, oh, I make all this money and I dress well and I throw money at her and she should be attracted to me. Wrong. Which is the whole point when it comes to humor and attraction, is that a lot of it pretty much is emotional. Because with women, what attracts women is not just these outward things. The best way to describe what attracts women, like psychologically and emotionally, is there's this interview with Mark Maron talking to Patrice O'Neal. And I think it was Patrice that said, what do women want? And Mark Maron said, more. And that's it. They want more. I mean, they want everything. The other superpower, arguably, when it comes to attracting women is getting women to be able to feel all an emotional range of things. Meaning, if you're a man of character who can make her laugh, who can open up emotionally and talk about your vulnerabilities, and then do something daring and bold and risky. That's getting women to feel all these different emotional beats is what makes them attracted to you. And it works incredibly well. But at the same time, with humor especially, you don't want to just be an entertainer and be a clown and just constantly make her laugh all the time, because you want to actually show a range of emotions and make her feel different things. Because that is kind of how women's emotional world is. I mean, their emotions are all over the place. By mirroring that, you get them to relate to you better. By mirroring that, by showing all of these different emotions and expressing all these emotions with her and getting her to feel those different emotions with you, you're mirroring her own emotional world, which makes her feel closer to you emotionally. Some tips on how to tell if she's actually into you. Now, this is another area where a lot gets lost in the noise, and it's a lot more subtle and complicated than people make it out to be, because you could go online and look up these lists of top 10 signs that a woman's attracted to you from body language. She touches her hair, she flutters her eyebrows, she straightens her back, she blah, 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 preens herself. Yeah. That stuff works, but the problem with a lot of these body language cues is that they also vary quite a lot from person to person, and a lot of them can get misinterpreted. And the reality is, in the real world, when women are attracted to you, they can do some of those signs. But the reality is most women don't really do that for the most part. Real attraction signals are far more subtle. In fact, most of the time, you won't even get most of those other ones. There are a couple things to look for. One, I think eye contact is a huge one, of course, but it may not be very quick. If a girl tries to make eye contact with you even for 1 second, she probably is attracted to you, because women just don't do that. But when you're talking to a girl, when you're trying to break down her emotional state, what you're really looking for with body language is what are called clusters. So if she's doing a few things at the same time, that could be an indication of interest. So, for example, one sign that a girl's not attracted to you is if she has her arms folded when she's talking to you. Now, that could be true, but you got to pay attention. Okay, is it cold outside? Does she have goosebumps? What are her feet doing? What are her eyes doing? Because she could have her arms folded, which on paper says, oh, she's not interested, but her feet are pointed towards you, her body is pointed towards you, her eyes are focused on you, they're a little bit dilated. That means that she probably is attracted to you, even if, on paper, this one thing says she's not. So you got to interpret these things as a whole and not just at little bits here and there. I'll include a book in the description that I read that I really liked that helped me a lot on this subject. Another obvious one, I think, is a big one, especially if you're a funny guy, to know that a girl's attracted to you, is if she touches you for any reason, whether it's a playful hit on the shoulder because you said something taboo, or she just touches your forearm for just a second, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. I mean, anytime a woman touches you, that's a pretty good sign that she's attracted to you. No, but the point is to never just overthink one gesture. It's about interpreting all these things as a whole. And I'll be honest, it's extremely tough. But hopefully you meet your future wife before you have to acquire all this knowledge and won't have to worry about that. And then, go listen to those cringe millennial married dad types. All right. Obviously, we got to address the elephant in the room, which is nowadays there's a lot of fear around approaching women and all the MeToo nonsense. That was obviously pretty gay, and I totally get it. I'm not gonna sit here like these cringe gay millennial dads like, men need to man up and pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Man, these men they're so weak. Young men are I don't know why. I was able to afford a house for $5,000 back in 1983. What's their problem? Look, I get it. You guys grew up in the Me Too era. You grew up around TikTok and all these women making fun of and shaming men and just talking down to them. All this feminism that's gotten way worse for your generation than even mine. Making you think that you're some evil man because you made eye contact with a girl one time and you're basically a rape. And it's really tough, and you didn't deserve that. And obviously society is messed up, which is why Western civilization's collapsing anyway, because this is the norm. But here's some consolation, though, is that, yes, there is a lot of that stuff on TikTok of women rejecting men and making fun of them for approaching them because he's not, a guy in finance, trust fund, 6'5", blue eyes. But the reality is the overwhelming majority of women in real life are actually pretty forgiving when it comes to approaching them. Even if they do reject you, which, will happen, most likely, you'll experience rejection. They're not assholes about it. I think most women intuitively understand that approaching them is very hard and nerve-wracking because they don't approach men. They wouldn't do it. So when you do approach them, and even if they reject you, they will respect you. I mean, they really do. As long as you're a normal-ish guy who's not a complete creep, is just an honestly good person trying to get to know her, they're not going to, even if you're not their type, and whatever the case is, they'll still respect you because most women are not as fragile as as they make themselves out to be online. I mean, they can kind of handle a little bit of awkwardness. They're pretty forgiving and cool about these things. And yeah, there are those who will go on TikTok and talk about some nerd that, try to get her number and make fun of him. And usually that's just a reflection of her poor character and her own insecurities. When women do that stuff now, what it is it's just them trying to impress other women by saying, hey, I get all these guys approaching me and I reject them because they're not good enough for me. I'm so great. It's really just a way to impress other women and jockey for status amongst women. It's some female shit. And it's really just coming from their own insecurity. It's not about the guys, honestly. A lot of that noise isn't about us. It's really just about miserable women trying to impress other miserable women. Yeah, that's pretty much the video. I could go on about this all day. If you guys are interested, I can do a video on some actual tips on how to approach women and some more practical advice on whether you should be direct or indirect, some tips on what not to say, some body language cues, some body language tips. Just let me know in the comments. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or you're a homosexual.